Cooper Kupp had an MRI on his hamstring, and what do we know now, Dave Richard?
We don't know if it's a minor tweak and he's going to miss like a week of practice, or if it's more severe than that. He was apparently in a red zone drill and came up a little bit lame, and they didn't. It was a late afternoon practice in Los Angeles. They didn't have an update beyond that. We don't have an update as of now, other than he's getting an MRI. That's not a great thing. We'll see what happens, but this might put the chill on him as a top 5 overall pick in full and half PPR for the next week or so. You can gamble with this and get him in late round 1. That would be awesome to like buy the dip if it's not a serious hamstring injury. If it is a serious hamstring injury, this might really crush the fortunes of a lot of Rams players.
Do we buy the dip, Heath? If you're drafting today, Cooper Kupp, remember, is 5+ weeks away from the start of the season.
I would say that I don't know what the dip is. If the dip's into round 2, I think you have to buy it.
Absolutely.
I would also say that my Baked Burger Dynasty League team is obviously cursed. I drafted Jonathan Taylor in round 2 and Cooper Kupp in round 3. So much for win now, win never.
Oh no.
Yeah, I think it would be easy to overreact to this news, but luckily nobody's drafting today.
The way I'm going to deal with it is...
Hold on. I've got somebody who's literally came up to me yesterday and said, my draft is Wednesday night. Can't wait. Going to be awesome. I was like, really? It's going to be awesome? You're drafting before there's any preseason games or, 5 weeks before the season started. This is one of those things where if you're weighing between Bijan and Cooper, let's say, you might take Bijan because he's healthier now. You might take Kelsey over Cooper Kupp right now because Kelsey's healthier now. You might take Tyreek over Cooper Kupp because he's healthier now. We just don't know the information. What if it comes out at like 4:00 today on Wednesday and Cooper Kupp is fine, then he shoots right back up to being a top 5 pick.
I will say don't push Kelsey ahead of him because that was my 4th round pick in the Dynasty League startup. So that's coming next.
Yeah.
When is it too soon to tank? A week after, while you're still drafting your team, you're going to tank.
What Adam said about the overreacting to the Cooper Kupp news, like I would suspect before the weekend's over, we're going to get some sort of timetable. Yeah. Like it's a grade 1, it's a grade 2. I'm going to be more prone to overreacting if week 1 is in doubt. If they act like we're giving him a week off, I'm not going to react at all.
No.
If it's 2 weeks, I'm probably not going to react at all. If they're talking about a month, then I'm going to overreact.
All right. So Adam Schefter tweeted, Cooper Kupp underwent an MRI on his hamstring, and while the team will be very cautious with him, one source said he potentially could be back for scrimmages in a few weeks.
Fine.
Okay, so let's just leave it at that, and we'll keep you updated. And for the record, I don't think we knew about this. I didn't know about it last night at 8:00 when we did our mock draft, and it was a half PPR mock draft. He was wide receiver 4, and he fell to 8th overall to Dave, behind McCaffrey, Mahomes, which was a surprise pick, Bijan, Jefferson, Jamar Chase, Tyreek Hill, Austin Eckler, and then Cooper Kupp.
Yep.
Next news item here, Jerry Jones has not ruled out re-signing Ezekiel Elliot. Said they were going to read the tea leaves. And Tony Pollard last night was taken also by Dave in the 2nd round, the 5th pick of the 2nd round. Our CBS draft, you get the automated report from CBS after the draft. That was like their favorite pick. And Dave's team got an A+ with Kupp and Pollard in the first 2 rounds. If they sign Ezekiel Elliott, would the 5th pick of round 2 be too early for Tony Pollard, Heath?
A little. I would probably have him at the 2-3 turn.
Dave?
I'd have him before the 2-3 turn, but after where I got him. So mid to late round 1, let's call it like between 16th and 22nd overall in PPR and pretty much in non-PPR. He wouldn't be a slam dunk 1st round pick. If there's no Zeke, if things stay the way they are in Dallas, in my mind, Tony Pollard's a 1st round pick.
Okay. Heath, you didn't agree with that when I asked you a couple months ago. Do you agree with that now?
I have him 13th right now. It's possible that Cooper Kupp's going to move behind him in the next couple of days. But no, I think right now he's at the 1-2 turn. I still think that I still remember that thing they said, what was it, Dave? Week 5 or week 6 of last year. Like, if we're going to give Tony Pollard 15 to 20 carries a game, we don't want him as involved in the passing game. We don't want to give him 15 to 20 carries a game because we do want him involved in the passing game. I think if he becomes the feature lead back, it's more likely that somebody else, maybe Deuce Vaughn, is handling a larger percentage of the passing downs work than what happened last year.
I think if they're making him the feature back, it makes sense for them to get somebody else involved. But I think the high value touches, certainly the high value carries, will fall into Pollard's lap. And if the difference in Pollard's year from last year to this year is the addition of 10 touchdowns, everybody will go nuts. I'll take a dip in receptions if it means a jump in touchdowns for Pollard, who, by the way, isn't terrible in short yardage goal line over the course of his career.
Okay, I'll just give you one more stat here, and then we'll move on. So Ezekiel Elliott missed 2 games mid-season. Pollard was awesome in those games, 115 or more rushing yards in both games. After that, he played 8 more games with Zeke, not including the San Francisco game in the playoffs when he broke his ankle, but including one playoff game, the Tampa Bay game. In those 8 games, Cowboys went 7-1. They were the highest scoring team in football, I think. They averaged 32.5 points per game, which over a full season would have been the highest scoring team in football. Zeke actually had more carries than Tony Pollard, but here's what Pollard was on pace for in those 8 games after Zeke returned. Only 223 carries, but 57 catches, 1,513 total yards, 57 catches, 9 touchdowns. It's not great, but that's what he was with Zeke actually having more carries than him.
What's the total touches there?
223 plus 57. So that would be 280.
Okay. I've got him projected right now for 253 plus 42, so 295. So 15 more touches than that.
Aaron Rodgers wants to play a few more seasons. So did you, Heath, did you move him up your dynasty rankings?
I did not. I know that it's really hard to not just like believe everything that Aaron Rodgers says. But I'm gonna go ahead and hold off on that one, and I'm gonna leave him in the around QB 22 or so. I think he's clearly behind. I still would rather have Cousins or Geno or Goff.
Cincinnati running back Travion. Oh, I never mentioned the Calvin Ridley thing. Dave, thank you for tweeting that at me. Calvin Ridley hurt his toe, so we're just gonna keep.
He's limited in practice though, so at least he's not sidelined yet.
Cincinnati running back Travion Williams was carted off with an ankle injury. Williams averaged 5 yards per carry last year. It's 6 carries for 30 yards.
He was one of my favorite prospects when he came out, and then he went to Cincinnati and never got a shot to play regularly. It just makes Chase Brown a little bit more appealing as a late round pick.
Okay.
Possible low rent handcuff for Joe Mixon.
Here's what ESPN's Dan Graziano said on the Seahawks running backs. Assuming Walker and Charbonnet get healthy in time for the season, the sense I get is A, Walker would still be the starter and get the bulk of the work, and B, Charbonnet would also have a role, perhaps in the 2-minute or 4-minute offense. People I spoke to here believe they complement each other well, and the team anticipates using them in tandem to some extent. But if Charbonnet has to miss extended time in camp, just the fact that he's a rookie could change the Seahawks' plan if they determine he hasn't had enough development time. Several people I talked to in Seattle mentioned how great an offseason Walker had, and they foresee improvement from him in 2023. Okay, we'll let that stand. And then Roshan Johnson missed practice with an injury, hopefully nothing serious. And then last news item here, Jeremy Fowler from ESPN on Rachaad White. Not only will White get a heavy workload rushing, but the Bucs have been expanding his route tree, believing he can inflict damage as a receiver. They see star potential here, a smooth do-it-all option. What do you think?
He's in that same bucket as all the other running backs that we talk about that need volume to do well. But if they're going to use him more in the passing game, I don't think it'll ever be to the level that we saw Bucs running backs get targets last year. But even if it's Baker's been right around 20% target share to his running backs over his career. He was last year. There's some potential there for Rachaad White.
Yeah, I did see them also talking about the quarterback competition and saying it's actually gotten closer since the start of camp, which is a praise of Kyle Trask, not Baker Mayfield. I have had Trask projected as starting more games than Mayfield, And I am hopeful that Trask will start week 1. That would be an upgrade for Godwin and Evans for me.
I've seen Trask play. I would be more scared if he's starting than Baker, but I'm kind of scared about both of them.
Would you take Rashad White or DeAndre Swift?
White.
Rashad White.
Rashad White or Cameron Akers?
I have White higher.
Yeah, those two, I really, it's really close, but I'd take White.
I wonder if his name is Cameron. I just made that up, but I have no reason to believe that it's Cameron. Could just be Cam.
Cameron Fry Akers.
Could be Camrick.
Could be Camrick.